This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints. Discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hi everybody, welcome to day 3 of our coverage of Dust Tactics, the huge sale at Miniature Market where you get an extra 20% off. Now, I need to clarify a few things, okay, because I think there's some misunderstandings and I always like to make myself perfectly clear. I've showed you a couple books and I've showed you some expansions for the game, and it's to try to piece together things to play the game and how you can use it best. And I also said that you can use these figures for Conflict 47. They are not directly connected with Conflict 47, but you can use them instead of units. Say that you have Conflict 47, which is of course by Bolt Action and Warlord, but you can use these parts to supplement for certain things, and sometimes it helps and people do use them for that. Another thing that I wanted to clarify, this book here, which is Dusk Warfare, is for the Fantasy Flight line that you see on the website that they are selling. But also there was a second or 1.5 rule set, which is Dust Tactics. This was released by Battlefield, so they consider this a 1.5. There are cards on the website that you can get, particularly the Soviet and the Americans, that go with the Dust Tactics version of the 1.5. Now, the reason that I tell you to buy some of these expansions and stuff like that and get those tiles from there is instead of paying full price someplace else. But you can always go to duskgames.com, which is now the third version, where it is called Dusk 1947, and pick up that rule set and you get your dice there and stuff like that, and of course pay more for the figures. These are the figures that are out of print that you can get and still play with this game, and this is a fantastic game, whether you play it as Dust Tactics, which we talked about on the tiles, or play it as Dust Tactic Battlefield, which is the miniatures version. But at the heart of this, and the reason for this video, is to talk about the thing that really makes this game, and that's the figures. The figures are what make this game, because they're absolutely gorgeous sculpts. They're probably some of the finest sculpts that you're going to find. And you can get a lot of these things for penny on the dollar. There are some box sets that are $8, and then you add another 20% off. I mean, come on, that's pretty ridiculous for the amount of figures that you can get here and be able to build your army to play this wonderful game. Now that we cleared a lot of that up, let's really talk about some of the figures. I mean, the Russians, which are very known for their fantastic tanks, and let's take a look at those tanks, because those tanks are unbelievable and they paint up so well. This here is unpainted, but as you can see, the detail is ridiculous on this tank. And of course, what you have here is a pre-primed unit. So that means you don't have to put primer on it. You can just go to painting right off the bat. Some other things that really stood out were these Sturmwaffe or whatever, the corps here, the Pioneer Squad, but they're kind of guerrillas, mutated guerrillas, and they are running around and causing nothing but good things. But take a look at these models. I mean, painting these up are a joy. And you know, these are big enough where if you want to take time to learn how to use your airbrush, or take time to learn how to paint, you can get these cheap enough and experiment with different techniques, and wonderful techniques. But let's talk a little bit more. I mean, there's even more units that stand out, that are just fantastic, like these zombie Suicide Squad. These guys are really cool, and I've had a chance to mess with some of these guys, and just look at the detail there. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And you get all the cards to fulfill this Dusk Warfare But you got to make sure you get the tiles, okay? Or a mat or something. You can buy the mats. They also have mats on here. And really piece together and play a game. You can play the 1.0 version of the rules, the 1.5 version of the rules, or go out and get if you really want to, get the current version of rules. There's also fan sites. There's tons of fan sites. This game has lots of legs. I mean, some of these models are just absolutely beautiful. Let's take, for instance, these guys for the Russians, which are fantastic. What else do I got here? The United States Force, where they have kind of like their own version in heavy armor. And then they have walkers, which I've got tons of around here. But not only that, but they also have planes. Yes, planes. I mean, there's planes for both sides, and there's rules for that, which just really take things off. And here we have the Germans' version of a plane. So, you know, you can get these things. They have the Russian version and the Americans' version of it. And they all come with the cards, the oversized cards in them. But if you decided to go with this, which had both Dust Tactics and Battlefield in here, you can still use these models, but you're going to want to get these Forced S to play the American, Dust Tactics version, and they are by Battlefield. So you can see that this game has taken some progression. It's gone from Fantasy Flight to Battlefield, and now it's on its own site. But again, the models can be used for so many things, and they are absolutely gorgeous. Just in the Operation, oh, I'm going to call it right out, Operation Hades. I'm sorry, I was down there. And there was this figure that came with it, and this is one of their superheroes. I decided to paint it up. And as you can see, here's my version of it, and how quickly it painted, being pre-primed. And you can see how I added detail and really try to bring him out. You can see how this gets painted, and I'm going to do a little shameless plug. On Battling Brushes this week, as Sam and I are painting Dusk for the next month. We're painting the starter sets. So you're going to want to check that out and see how I took this guy and made him this guy. At least that's this week's episode. We're going to be doing more and more every Sunday. So check that out on the Dice Tower. But the most important thing here is that you can get all these fantastic miniatures at such a remarkable, fantastic price. And like I said, it's really about the figures. These figures are just fantastic, and they're just, each one comes individually wrapped, and they're just extremely detailed. Whether you want to use them for this game or take practice using your airbrush on tanks or maybe aircraft, or maybe just learn how to paint in general, a bigger figure always looks better to paint on and easier. And plus, they're just amazing to look at. So that's today's talk up for the Big Miniature Market sale and the big deal. Remember, you're getting 20% off already low prices, and this is just fantastic. Go to the site, order up some stuff, but most importantly, take this information as you will, buy some up, and just have fun, because that's what's most important, getting the most bang out of your buck. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob, and we'll see you soon.